There is a mystery in life that few understand, a mystery that reveals itself only to those who dare to step beyond the noise of the crowd and walk in the silence of their own inner authority. To be chosen is not a title given by men, nor is it a crown placed upon the head by the approval of others. To be chosen is to awaken to the truth of who you are, to recognize that within you rests a divine spark, a creative power, and a consciousness capable of shaping entire worlds. And when that recognition dawns upon you, when the veil lifts and you see that you are not subject to circumstances but the one who breathes life into them, then life begins to separate you not in punishment but in preparation. The chosen ones walk alone not because they despise others, not because they are unloved, but because their path demands a solitude that the common cannot endure. It is in this solitude that the chosen discover the richness of imagination, the vastness of silence, and the incredible intimacy with the unseen. The crowd gathers for approval, for applause, for comfort, but the chosen learns to dwell in an invisible sanctuary, where the applause comes not from the lips of others, but from the whisper of the Spirit within, saying, "You are the one, you are the vessel, you are the dreamer who must dare to dream beyond the ordinary." The solitude becomes a womb, and within that womb, the chosen one conceives visions so grand that the world cannot comprehend them at first sight. You see, when you are chosen, you no longer look at the world as it is presented to you. You no longer bow to appearances or allow the evidence of the senses to dictate what is possible. You understand that imagination is the only reality, that what you dare to assume with conviction must clothe itself in form. And because you understand this law, you walk a path that others cannot see. To them it looks as though you have withdrawn, as though you have gone mad, as though you are chasing illusions. But in truth, you are more awake than ever before. You walk alone because your eyes are fixed upon a vision no one else has yet believed. The chosen ones are mocked, doubted, dismissed, and even abandoned, because the world does not yet recognize the power that moves within them. But this rejection is a gift. It is in the absence of outer approval that the chosen one turns entirely inward, discovering the wellspring of creation within consciousness itself. Every insult becomes fuel. Every doubt becomes a mirror showing what must be released. Every lonely night becomes an altar where you declare, "I am," and feel it so completely that the universe bends to obey. This is why the chosen must walk alone. Because if they had the constant comfort of company, they would never be forced to discover the company of God within themselves. Consider the path of one who desires to manifest love. To the crowd, love must be sought in another, begged from another, or proven by another. But the chosen knows that love begins within. They retreat into imagination, and in the quiet corridors of their mind, they feel themselves cherished, adored, pursued. They dwell in the assumption that they are the one desired, and they feel it so vividly that the echo of that assumption sends telepathic ripples across the unseen, drawing the beloved into their orbit. The crowd sees loneliness, but the chosen one knows they are never alone. They are embraced by the unseen, wooed by the divine, wrapped in an affection so profound that soon it must spill into visible form. Or think of wealth. The world clamors and struggles, racing against each other for coins and contracts. But the chosen one does not need the approval of economies or the permission of institutions. They withdraw, they walk alone in thought, and they assume the feeling of already being abundant. They hear the sound of their own voice declaring, "Money flows to me from all directions," and they feel the reality of it vibrating through their being. They are not waiting for the world to confirm it. They are planting the seed so deeply in consciousness that the world cannot help but reflect it back. While others compete, the chosen one aligns. While others beg, the chosen one claims. And for this reason, the path seems lonely, for no one else is bold enough to stand in silence and declare themselves wealthy when appearances suggest otherwise. This aloneness is not emptiness, it is power. It is the silence of the seed buried in the soil, seemingly alone, but in truth swelling with life, destined to break through and astonish the world above. The chosen ones walk alone because they live in the end while others remain trapped in the middle. They feast on tomorrow's bread today, they drink tomorrow's wine in the present moment. And so their laughter, their confidence, their assurance seems strange to those who live by sight. But the chosen cannot go back. Once you have tasted the reality of imagination, once you have felt the invisible substance of faith, you can never again be satisfied with living by facts alone. You may notice that those around you cannot always follow where you go. Friends may drift, lovers may resist, even family may question your sanity. Do not mourn this. The chosen are not here to blend in, they are here to transform. And transformation requires a strength that cannot be borrowed, a conviction that cannot be outsourced. If all walked with you, if all agreed with you, if all applauded you, you would never develop the steel within. The chosen walk alone so that they may cultivate unwavering faith. It is this faith that allows them to stand when all else crumbles, to declare abundance in famine, to speak of love in loneliness, to announce victory in the midst of apparent defeat. To walk alone is to discover the magic of communion with the unseen. It is to recognize that telepathic currents connect you to every soul, that your silent assumptions are conversations shaping outcomes long before they appear. When you assume that another loves you, feels you, cannot stop thinking about you, you are not merely indulging a fantasy. You are sending a pulse through the invisible field, and that pulse finds its way to the heart of the one you have chosen. And yet, you cannot speak of this openly to all, for the crowd would laugh, dismiss, and scorn. Thus, the chosen keep their counsel, walking alone in the secret corridors of imagination, knowing that what is felt in silence will one day be shouted by circumstances. The solitude of the chosen one is not weakness, it is sacred training. Every moment alone is an invitation to refine the inner speech, to polish the images held within, to strengthen the conviction that the unseen is more real than the seen. You do not need the company of many when you have discovered the company of your own imagination. You do not need endless validation when you have touched the well of divine assurance within. The chosen walks alone, because they have found the pearl of great price. And in comparison, the noise of the world is but a distraction. And so, when you find yourself separated, misunderstood, even ridiculed, rejoice, for you have been set apart. You are being prepared to manifest what others cannot yet believe. Do not fear the loneliness. Embrace it as the sign that you are carrying a vision too precious to be exposed to unprepared minds. Walk alone, but know you are never truly alone, for the very source of life walks within you. Every step you take in faith is a step that reshapes the universe around you. And soon, the very ones who doubted you will stand in awe as the invisible becomes visible, as the silence gives birth to song, as the unseen dream takes form in the waking world. The chosen ones walk alone because they walk ahead. They are pioneers of consciousness, trailblazers of imagination, architects of unseen kingdoms. And though the road is solitary, it is also the most intimate. For it is there you learn to converse with the infinite, to command reality with assumption, and to feel the ecstasy of knowing that what you imagine in the stillness is destined to become flesh. So, do not despise your solitude. Do not long for the crowd. Embrace the sacred loneliness of the chosen, for it is there you will discover your true power, your unshakable authority, and your undeniable destiny. To walk the path of the chosen is to feel at times as if you live in two worlds. There is the visible with its rules, its expectations, its demands to conform and comply. And then there is the invisible, where the real work is done, where vision is shaped, where faith builds the architecture of tomorrow. The chosen live in the invisible more than in the visible. They carry conversations in silence. They walk through inner landscapes brighter than any city. They feast at tables unseen by the human eye. And while to others this appears as solitude, to the chosen it is overflowing abundance, for they are never alone when they have learned to dwell in the imagination. The world fears silence because in silence they are confronted with themselves. They need the noise, the chatter, the company to drown the emptiness they feel. But the chosen one embraces silence, for silence is the workshop of creation. It is in silence that inner words are spoken with power. It is in silence that images are painted with life. It is in silence that one hears the voice of destiny, echoing, "You are the creator, not the created." And so the chosen separate from the crowd, not in arrogance, but in necessity. Their power is born in the invisible, and to cultivate that power, they must step away from the distractions of the visible. The chosen understand that manifestation is not a public spectacle. It is not achieved by convincing others, nor by debating, nor by seeking agreement. It is the private act of assumption, the intimate union of feeling and imagination that produces results no one can deny. And so they walk alone. They carry their secrets in silence. They know the law of life is imagination, and so they imagine with boldness what others fear to conceive. They see themselves celebrated before a single voice cheers. They walk in wealth before a single coin appears. They feel love before a single hand touches theirs. To the crowd, this looks like madness. To the chosen, it is simply living from the end. Do you know why so many fail to manifest the life they desire? Because they cannot bear the solitude of faith. They want the crowd to agree, the world to approve, the evidence to appear first. They want company in their assumptions, validation in their visions. But faith has no companions. Faith stands alone. It is the assurance of things unseen, the conviction of things hoped for. It is the refusal to bow to appearances, even when they scream the opposite. The chosen are those who can bear this solitude, who can walk alone with nothing but an inner conviction, and who hold to that conviction until the world bends to it. And oh, the power of this inner solitude. Imagine yourself walking down a busy street, but inwardly you are elsewhere. Outwardly the world sees only another passerby, but inwardly you are seated in your mansion. You are embraced by your beloved. You are counting the riches of your abundance. This dual life is the secret of the chosen. They are never limited to what the senses show. They live within, they create within, they feast within, and in time the without must mirror the within. The crowd sees the street, the chosen sees the palace. And because the chosen dares to walk alone in the vision, eventually the palace appears. Consider the power of telepathy that flows from this solitude. When you assume with intensity that another feels you, thinks of you, desires you, you are transmitting without words. You are entering into a silent union of minds, bypassing speech and distance, reaching directly into the core of another's being. But this is not something the crowd can understand. They are trapped in the visible, convinced that only spoken words and physical actions matter. The chosen walk alone, in the understanding that consciousness is the only reality, that every assumption is communication, that every inner declaration is a broadcast shaping the field of experience. They need not argue, they need not chase, they need not prove. They assume, and assumption makes the contact. This is why the chosen must be willing to endure misunderstanding. If you speak too freely of your visions, the crowd will mock. If you reveal too openly your assumptions, the crowd will doubt. So the chosen walks alone, holding the vision in secret, nurturing it in silence, protecting it as a seed until the time of harvest. And then when the harvest appears, the very ones who mocked will marvel. They will say, "How did this happen?" And the chosen will know. It happened in solitude, in silence and imagination, long before it clothed itself in form. To be chosen is to be called to a higher standard of belief. It is to be asked to walk by faith, not by sight. It is to carry within you a knowing so strong that no outer rejection can shake it. You walk alone because your steps are not guided by the approval of men, but by the certainty of the unseen. You walk alone because your eyes are fixed on the end, while the world is trapped in the middle. Like the middle, you walk alone because your inner conversations are too sacred to be shared with those who have not yet awakened. This loneliness is not a burden but a crown. It is the mark of one who has been entrusted with the truth. So when you find yourself alone, misunderstood, doubted, mocked, smile. For you are walking the path of the chosen. You are being shaped in solitude, strengthened in silence, refined in the invisible. Every step alone is building within you a power so radiant that when it breaks forth, no one will be able to deny it. The world will see the fruit, but only you will know the cost. The long nights of faith, the quiet mornings of imagination, the countless inner declarations that no one else heard, they will see the harvest but never the sowing. And they will call you lucky, not knowing that luck is simply faith made visible. The chosen ones walk alone because their destiny is too great to be carried by the crowd. They are set apart, not rejected. They are lifted out, not abandoned. They are separated, not forgotten. They walk in solitude now so that they may one day lead multitudes. For how can one lead if one has never stood alone? How can one command if one has never endured the darkness? How can one command if one has never mastered the silence? The chosen walk alone, but their solitude is the training ground for their glory. And when the time comes, the world will marvel at what the chosen have become. They will wonder how such power, such love, such wealth, such vision could arise. But the chosen will know. It was born in solitude. It was conceived in imagination. It was nurtured in silence. The path of the chosen is not the path of the many, and that is why it appears lonely. But it is only in walking alone that one learns the greatest truth. You are never truly alone. For the divine walks within you, speaks within you, imagines within you, and with that companionship, you are complete. The chosen ones carry a light that others cannot always see, a flame that burns within them with such intensity that it illuminates paths where no footprints exist. This is why their steps often feel solitarily, because they are walking ahead of what is visible. They are building bridges in the unseen long before anyone else dares to believe. Those bridges could exist. To walk alone as the chosen is not a punishment. It is the price of carrying vision. And vision is always born in solitude, gestated in silence, and revealed in time. When you walk as the chosen, you must come to love the feeling of being misunderstood. For the crowd cannot understand why you are at peace while appearances rage against you. They cannot grasp why you speak of abundance when the account looks empty, or why you declare yourself loved when no one is by your side. But you know a secret they do not. Reality is not what is seen, but what is assumed. You live in the unseen first, and because of this, your life appears strange to those still enslaved to evidence. Yet your strangeness is your strength. To live in the end before the world acknowledges it is the essence of creation. The chosen learn to hold inner conversations with such conviction that the outer world bends to match them. They speak silently to themselves, words of power. I am wealthy. I am adored. I am free. I am the magnet of all I desire. And as they repeat these inner conversations, they feel them as real, they wear them as garments, they saturate their being with them until the invisible becomes undeniable. But because these conversations are silent, because this communion happens within, the world cannot see it and therefore assumes the chosen are simply alone. In truth, they are never alone. They are engaged in dialogue with the universe itself. There comes a time in every chosen one's life when the path forks. On one side lies the comfort of conformity, on the other, the solitude of faith. Most choose conformity because conformity comes with company, with applause, with approval. But the chosen cannot bear to betray their inner vision, so they step onto the solitary road, and in that moment their destiny is sealed. It may look as though they have lost friends, as though they have lost favor, as though they have lost opportunity, but they have gained something greater, the companionship of the infinite. And with that, they lack nothing. Walking alone teaches the chosen the mastery of assumption. For without the props of agreement and approval, they must rely solely on their inner eye. They must assume in the face of contradiction, believe in the face of ridicule, and feel fulfilled in the face of emptiness. This training produces within them an authority that cannot be shaken. When they say it is done, they mean it. When they feel it is mine, it must appear. For they have learned that consciousness creates reality, and solitude is the furnace in which that truth is forged into unbreakable certainty. This path of solitude also awakens in the chosen the awareness of telepathic influence. They begin to notice that what they assume about others begins to echo back in behavior, that what they silently expect of people begins to unfold in conversation. They realize that their mind is not separate but part of a vast ocean of consciousness, and that every ripple they create within reaches shores unseen. The chosen, walking alone, discover that they are never truly isolated. They are connected to every heart, every mind, every circumstance by the silent currents of imagination. And so they learn to direct these currents wisely, to assume only what uplifts, to believe only what empowers, to declare only what fulfills. To walk alone is also to encounter the shadow of doubt. There are nights when the chosen wonder if they have lost their way, if they are deceiving themselves, if they are truly as powerful as they feel in imagination. These nights of doubt are the refining fire, for when the chosen decides, even in the darkness, to stand in faith, their power deepens. They realize that they are not sustained by evidence, but by inner knowing. Each time they stand firm in solitude, their faith becomes more radiant, their conviction more unshakable. Doubt becomes the anvil upon which faith is hammered into steel. The chosen must also endure seasons where nothing seems to move, where silence stretches, where prayers feel unanswered, where assumptions seem barren. These seasons are not failures, they are gestations. The seed must spend time hidden in the soil before it bursts forth into the light. And the chosen walking alone must remind themselves daily, what I have assumed must manifest, for imagination is the law of life. They continue to feel the end, to live in the end, to celebrate the end, even when the middle seems empty. And in time, the silence breaks, and the invisible springs forth into form. This is why the chosen carry such power when their manifestations arrive. For they did not stumble upon them. They birthed them in solitude, nurtured them in imagination, guarded them against doubt, and held them in faith when all appearances denied them. The world may call it luck, but the chosen know it is law. The world may call it coincidence, but the chosen know it is consciousness. They walked alone, but in walking alone they discovered that they carried the creative power of the universe within them. So if you find yourself separated, standing apart, feeling misunderstood, take heart. You are walking the path of the chosen. The crowd may not see your vision yet, but that is because it was given to you, not to them. The silence you endure is the womb of creation. The solitude you feel is the training ground of power. Do not fear walking alone, for in truth you are walking with the source of all, and with such a companion, you are never forsaken. You are not abandoned, you are anointed. You are not rejected, you are refined. You are not alone, you are chosen. The chosen ones are often surprised by how quickly life rearranges itself once they have embraced the solitude of their calling. At first it feels painful when certain friendships dissolve, when familiar voices grow distant, when once close companions no longer resonate with your vibration. But in truth, this separation is the mercy of the universe. You are being lifted out of environments that no longer serve the vision you are carrying. The silence that replaces them is not emptiness. It is space, fertile and wide, ready to be filled with the new reality you are bringing forth. You walk alone not because you are unloved, but because you are being prepared to step into rooms only faith can open. You must understand, the chosen are not chosen for ease. They are chosen for demonstration. The universe delights in revealing its power through those who dare to believe beyond appearances. And so the chosen will often face circumstances that look impossible, moments that look hopeless, seasons that seem barren. But in these very moments, they are given the chance to reveal the law in action. By assuming the end in the face of contradiction, they reveal the truth that consciousness is the only reality. By walking alone in faith, they show that imagination governs the world. And so every trial becomes a stage for glory. Every lonely night becomes a canvas for creation. Every unanswered question becomes an opportunity to declare, "It is done." The chosen are called to walk alone because their companionship must shift from flesh to spirit. If you lean too heavily on the approval of others, you will always be swayed by their moods, their opinions, their fears. But when you learn to lean on the inner conviction of your imagination, you cannot be shaken. Walking alone forces you to shift your reliance from the outer to the inner. And once you have made this shift, you can walk through fire and not be burned. You can stand in storms and not be moved. You can face rejection and still feel adored. For your assurance does not come from man, but from the divine whisper within. And yet, walking alone does not mean you will never be surrounded again. In time, the chosen attract a new circle, one aligned with their vibration, one capable of recognizing the light within them. But this new circle is not formed through chasing, begging, or proving. It is magnetized through assumption. When you assume yourself loved, the world must mirror it back. When you assume yourself wealthy, opportunities must arrange themselves. When you assume yourself powerful, circumstances must confirm it. The chosen walk alone in assumption, and then in time they walk among multitudes who reflect their inner conviction. And inner conviction, do not despise the nights when it feels as though no one understands you. Those nights are sacred. They are nights when the veil between the visible and the invisible grows thin. In those moments, speak boldly to yourself. Declare what you are. Feel the wish fulfilled. Saturate your being with the reality you are creating. Let your imagination be louder than your loneliness, your conviction stronger than your doubts, your vision brighter than the darkness. For these are the nights that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. These are the nights when the chosen prove that imagination is more powerful than any circumstance. You are not chosen because you are more deserving than others. You are chosen because you have awakened to the truth that all are divine, that all carry the spark, that all can create. But while many sleep, you have awakened. And with awakening comes responsibility. You must live by the law you have discovered. You must walk by faith when others demand proof. You must assume boldly when others shrink back. You must declare silently what others dare not whisper. And this will make you appear strange, isolated, even delusional. But this strangeness is the signature of the chosen. For to live by imagination in a world that worships appearances is to walk a solitary road. The crowd clings to facts, but facts are only shadows of faith. The chosen live in the cause, not the effect. They understand that the inner state produces the outer scene, that consciousness is the only substance, that imagination is the only power. And because they live in cause, they walk differently, they speak differently, they see differently. They may be in the same room as others, but inwardly they are in another world, shaping another atmosphere. This inner world is their true home. And it is in this home that they find companionship with the divine. The chosen walk alone because their inner conversations are too sacred to be shared prematurely. Imagine a gardener who has just planted seeds. He does not parade them before the crowd, for the crowd would mock the soil and say nothing is growing. The gardener knows better. He protects the soil, waters it in silence, and waits. The chosen are gardeners of imagination. They plant visions in the fertile soil of consciousness. They water them with faith. They protect them with silence. And in time the harvest appears. And when it does, the very ones who mocked will gather to marvel at the fruit. Do not be troubled if your path has led you away from the familiar. Do not grieve if doors have closed, if people have left, if voices have grown silent.